yeah, and it's time for the Game Sports Podcast. It is your host, David McKeag Jr. This is the Wednesday edition of the Game Sports Podcast. The date of this recording, or should I say pre-recording, is November the 1st, 2023. Nonetheless, if you're tuning in day of or after, it is always relative yet electrifying content. As I said, David McKeag Jr. with the Game Sports Podcast. This is sponsored by Flawless Roofing Sure Seal Incorporated. Flawless Roofing, you can check them out on their website, flawlessroofing.ca. They've had over 30 years in the business. Residential, commercial, rooftop, it does not matter. Flawless Roofing will have you covered, and you must and should protect your investment and start from the top. And you'd be going in the right direction with Flawless Roofing. Their work is, yes, here comes the corny part, is flawless. And let me point out, that corny part is coming from yours truly. That isn't a part of the slogan. They are located in Sault Ste. Marie and Thunder Bay. However, it does not matter where you are located. They can come help you out. That is Flawless Roofing. Again, Flawless Roofing Sure Seal Incorporated. Over 30 years in the biz. Protect your investment. Start from the top. The Game Sports Podcast is powered by 91N. That's 91 Network. If you're wondering what 91N is, well, just to save time, I'm just going to get you to head on over to the 91 Network YouTube channel, which is formerly known as Yes TGEM, now known as 91 Network, and you can check out the announcement upload that will give you the entire detail that you require, if you wouldn't mind spending 22 minutes hearing out the full detail there. But long story short, that is the new name of our network that we are powered by, taking over for the name of TGEM. That simple. This episode of the Game Sports Podcast, we did have more action-packed content to bring to you in terms of, especially with more people in this opening segment. However, due to some technical difficulties, we were unable to achieve that. So you will just have yours truly for the opener here in this edition. And in this opener, I am going to be getting into everything hockey. Yes, I know that is very simple. It might be even very Dave, if you will, if you know who I am. But nonetheless, there's a lot of news in the world of hockey that I have to get to in such a short period of time that I'm going to try to cram in within the next 10 to 13 minutes before we get into our second segment. And our second segment is going to be, since it is Wednesday, if you're a Game Sports Podcast loyal listener, or if you're new to the channel, well, you're going to be in for a treat because we will have our In the Pocket segment. Our In the Pocket segment is our football show. And for those over in Europe, no, not soccer as we call it over here in North America, football, that is going on now. It's 7th season that we've been doing it with the game. So myself, and we expect Justin Hykel and also EJ Russell to join as well. Now, I'm going to get into the first segment of the show. Due to time constraints, if you want to have any other detail or news updates, particularly with 91N, like I said, head over to the YouTube channel. But I got to get into hockey content here. There's a lot to get into. And as I mentioned, it would have been nice to be able to go back and forth with a couple of our members on the Game Sports Podcast family. But due to some technical challenges, we couldn't do so. So I'm going to try to keep you up to date. And I am going to touch into some local content. Yes, if you wonder what local means, that is based in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, in the Algoma region. So for those that are outside of that region or outside the Sioux, don't worry. It is still very entertaining content. Doesn't mean you have to skip over to the next part. You're definitely going to want to hear this especially. And I'm also going to get into some major junior, more so with the WHL. I'm going to get into some semi-pro and professional with the East Coast Hockey League. I'm going to get into the American Hockey League, the professional level, as I mentioned, and obviously the National Hockey League, some feedback that I'm going to give that connects to that, as well as news. Was that confusing? Probably. Well, you may as well let me get into what I'm going to tell you. Firstly, I'm going to go to the topic around the National Hockey League that I've been getting texts about in terms of reactions. Of course, there was the tragedy that took place with Adam Johnson, 29 years old, a freak accident during a hockey game overseas, and taking a skate to the neck. And very sad. Former Pittsburgh Penguins player, of course. Pittsburgh paid a lovely tribute to Adam Johnson. And of course, it was a tragedy. But you know, this was a tragedy that has been a scare for hockey players for a long time. If you look back at incidents back before, even when I was younger, I'm not going to get into naming all the ones that I can recall. This is one that stands out, of course. And with Adam Johnson being such a young man and playing competitive hockey, there obviously are freak accidents, but there are freak accidents that could be avoidable. And it's unfortunate that a tragedy such as this, and it's not the first time a tragedy such as this happened in terms of this extent with his death, that could be argued. But in terms of this happening in general and having the risk of that happening or it happening, it has happened a few times in the National Hockey League. And this one hits closer to everyone in the hockey world because of how freak it was. And definitely sad, someone far too young to have passed away. And doing it with the game he loved and worked so hard for, and such a freak accident to occur is such a shame. And it could have been avoidable. The WHL, effective today, has made it mandatory to wear neck protection while on with the ice activities. The ECHL and AHL, through the Pittsburgh Penguins organization, Wilkes-Barre and Down, have made it mandatory to wear the neck guards in those with those teams as well. So Wilkes-Barre and also their ECHL team with the Pittsburgh Penguins will also be wearing the neck guards as well. Kyle Dubas made that quite quickly. Did he enforce that rule? Obviously, he can't do it yet in the National Hockey League. That is because that rule is not in place yet, and you can't just place a rule with your team in the National Hockey League. It's a little bit of different strategies that you have to take there. But the WHL is going to make it mandatory, and obviously you're going to see other leagues follow, which eventually I think will go up to the National Hockey League. Now, with the National Hockey League, does it affect anyone's playing or anyone's skating? Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I did play junior hockey when I was playing, even now playing men's league hockey. We don't wear neck guards. Heck, playing men's league, I don't wear shoulder pads. I wear elbow pads. Very, very not safe, if you will. But the neck protection, you can make that very quote unquote fashionable if that's what players in the NHL worry, which should be the least of their concerns. But also, it is not uncomfortable in any which way. I still have my old neck guard downstairs. Will I be putting it on in men's league? No, but I guarantee you they'll probably start making that mandatory for them to get. But it is not uncomfortable to put on, and it protects your neck. And that is where, would have this happened with Adam? We will not know if he was wearing a neck guard or not, but that is the point. It's called a neck guard. So it would have guarded his neck and probably saved the extent of the laceration that occurred. So the point of the matter is, better safe than sorry. That's the one I want to go with. And am I in support of neck guards being mandatory in all leagues? 100%. And yes, I might be asked more questions about this because I'm even going to the levels of men's league and recreational hockey, but why not? It is something that everybody should be wearing. It's safe, especially in those recreational leagues. The game is not as safe, believe it or not, because you sometimes have players that are a little bit, let's say, could be not as skilled, if you will, and also maybe not as safe while they play the game. And sometimes with slipping and falling, skates go up in the air, injuries can occur, or obviously tragedies can occur, and we don't want that to happen. With Adam Johnson, it was such a freak accident, and I do recall him playing some games in Pittsburgh. He was a very, very tenacious player. He was continuing his game overseas, and his life was taken too early due to an accident that was yet a freakish accident, but I feel could have been avoided. So I'm in full support of the neck guards being put into place. I want you to let me know what you think. Comment below. It's definitely been a conversation around all social media and all podcasts, but if you end up hitting on this podcast, let's go a little back and forth if you feel like it, or send me a private message. Going further into the world of hockey, and I am going to have to pull up some articles with this because it is relation to the Algoma region, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. So obviously in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, there's an OHL team, and the team is called the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. Everyone that is a Toronto area and Toronto fan, just because of Kyle Dubas being a part of the management team there for over 5 years, they'll know who the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds are. But this isn't in relation to Kyle Dubas. This is nothing to do with that. This is actually about what's currently happening. This weekend, which will be on Saturday, November the 4th, make sure I get my dates correct, Joe Thornton will be coming to Sault Ste. Marie, who just recently announced his retirement, number one, Joe Thornton. And number two, as of today, he has indicated that he's going to be joining Hockey Canada as well. He's going to be taking a managerial role with Hockey Canada. That is amazing. Joe Thornton week for sure in full effect here in Sault Ste. Marie, but also in the National Hockey League, or just the past couple weeks due to his announcement of retiring, but now joining the Hockey Canada on the managerial side. Joe Thornton will have his number retired in the rafters here at the GFL Memorial Gardens here in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, for the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. His number 19 will be hung in the rafters here at the Memorial Gardens for short. And there will be a full jersey ceremony, and both 91N, yours truly, and the Game Sports podcast will be in attendance for that jersey retirement. And we will certainly do our best to give you the rate on day of content there. And there's been some press releases by the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds that you can check online. You can check on their website and also through some media outlets if you're Sault Ste. Marie. But if you're outside the Sioux, check out the Sioux Greyhounds website. It is pretty great. There has been an interview between the Hounds and Joe Thornton. And Joe Thornton mentioned after his time here in Sault Ste. Marie, he definitely praised Sault Ste. Marie, but his quote that I am going to read: "I love the Sioux. I've always felt loved and welcome there. It is a blue-collar town. I fit in there. I played their style, and I think people like that," said Joe, playing and looking back in his time in the Lock City, is what was used by Director of Public Relations, Hockey Administrator, and Radio Broadcaster Jerry Linscomb Jr. Going to give him credit for that email that he sent out to everyone in media, but also the press release. Now, if you're looking at some information about if there's going to be any behind-the-scenes media content, now, obviously, we'll see what happens day of, but there was attempt in terms of coordination with some logistics around their weekend's events coming up. And Joe Thornton, there will be no type of media lengthy visit where yours truly can sit down with them for 10 to 15 minutes and have a interview for a segment or anything of such. If something can be worked out, we will try to do so. But based on the email today that was sent out, due to his brief time that he's going to be spending here in Sault Ste. Marie, and due to the high degree of interest, of course, there would have been, and there was apologies all around, there'll be no availability for media coverage. So we apologize for that in advance, but we will try to give and provide everything that we can from our end. If we're able to sneak in an interview, we will. We know that yours truly and the crew of the Game Sports podcast can certainly be attractive in terms of trying to get people to talk. So we'll try to get that skill going while we're there. But he's going to be heavily swarmed. He's going to be busy, and we're going to respect Joe's space and to the request of the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. But nonetheless, we are going to be there for the ceremony, and it's going to be a great time. If you're in Sault Ste. Marie, definitely go on over, check it out. You don't want to miss that. That's a proud event. It's been quite some time since we've had a hung jersey in the rafters. I mean, we, as in the city of Sault Ste. Marie, because that is where I'm located. So make sure you get on down to the Memorial Gardens on Saturday, November the 4th to check out recently retired and now part of the Canada managerial side for international hockey, Joe Thornton. Congratulations to Joe Thornton. I'm actually looking over to the left. I got a Joe Thornton signed autograph that came through a friend of mine, in front of the show, Zach Turquato, professional hockey player, when he was on Boston. So he was a young lad there, of course, before he went over to San Jose. But it's definitely going to be hard to miss a guy here. And if you're in Sault Ste. Marie at the Gardens, someone who is about 6'6" and has a beard. So obviously he is not 6'6", but he is a guy with a beard that you definitely won't be able to miss. And again, that's Joe Thornton coming to Sault Ste. Marie to have his jersey retired here in Sault Ste. Marie. The number 19 will now be in the rafters at the Gardens once again. And just to correct his height, I believe he is 6'4", just to get his height. But it's going to be cool if I could be able to meet him, but nonetheless, enjoyable moment all around. The NHL, going to give you some news about the National Hockey League. There's been a lot today, especially if you're an Ottawa fan. My goodness. They have to forfeit a first-round pick in 2024 or 2025 or 2026 in terms of what happened with the Evgeny Dadonov deal in the previous draft. So there's that. Now, there was a very interesting story that was shared by friend of the show, and you hear his voice on EASHL, or the NHL 24 rather, and if you play the ESHL or EA NHL in general, James Sobalski, who has a great podcast, so definitely check him out. he had an interesting story about saying inquiry saying, what if it was an American team? And that's something I've been seeing a lot of in terms of the comments. That's a very good point. That is a very good point. But the Ottawa Senators have to forfeit their first round pick either this upcoming, the year after, or the year after's draft. Be very interesting to see what happens there. Pierre Dorion, on top of being an Ottawa fan right now, Pierre Dorion was relieved of his duties as a general manager of the Ottawa Senators on Wednesday. 51-year-old will be replaced by Steve Staios. Steve Staios, obviously former NHLer, and using a quote from the new owner of the Ottawa Senators, my first 30 days as owner of the Ottawa Senators has exceeded my expectations from all aspects. From the great fan of the sport to this incredible city that's adopted me with open arms, to the passionate staff who care very much for our team, as well as a great, exciting team who also care very much on the ice. Our team got off to a great start in the last 30 days, but unfortunately, the last 10 days have not been much fun for me, and I kind of got brought back down to earth. Look, Dorion joined the Senators in 2007. He's been a long-term employee there since 2007 as a scout. He became the director of player personnel, if I recall correctly, in 2009, as I removed over the article. But then he became the assistant GM in 2014. And then with Brian Murray after 2016, when Murray announced that he was stepping down, that is when Dorion stepped on in. So he's been there for quite some time. There hasn't been success in Ottawa, of course. But granted, for Dorion, there has been improvement, and there's been some good drafting. If you look at Tkachuk, you can look at some moves that were made. There's definitely been maneuvers with the team. And Tim Stützle, they've definitely done very well in trying to rebuild this team the right way. But obviously, I feel like the owner had Dorion on a very, very, very thin ice. I feel like any lengthy slip up, he was ready to make a move. And obviously what happened with the Dadonov issue, that could have been a little deciding factor as well. Some decisions that had been weighing over, and he wanted change and some relief. I'm saying I don't know if Dorion is the problem, but obviously it hasn't been a help of the resolution towards the problem either. But there has been some steps in progress with the right direction. And I feel that the Senators may have reacted a little too soon with the firing of Dorion, but especially on a year where they've now been riddled with injuries, that if they were a healthy team, that maybe they would be a wild card team in the National Hockey League for the playoffs. But it doesn't seem like that's going to be the case. Looks like it might be another high draft pick this year if you're a Senator fan, but hey, still a lot of season left. Definitely coming by surprise at firing even the Dadonov issue with having to forfeit a first round pick. Unbelievable. The National Hockey League today, there's a lot that we can talk about. And today I went into talking the OHL, WHL. I even mentioned the East Coast, the AHL, talked about Dubas, talked about Joe Thornton and high extent, and of course the Ottawa Senators. The NHL has been off to a hot start. There's been hot and cold teams. And if you're wondering when we're getting into a bit more of hockey content here on the Game Sports Podcast with a more bigger group, except yours truly, trust me, we're going to get onto that hopefully by next week. We've had some cancellations on shows on Mondays, so we apologize for that. There's been some changeover in our business, as you know, so there's been some priorities to attend to with that. But a lot of news in the National Hockey League we can get into. The last thing that I'll mention, the Heritage Classic with the Edmonton Oilers and Calgary Flames. Wasn't a huge fan of it. Cool to watch. It was good to see Connor McDavid back out there on the ice. Big win for the Oilers, but those Calgary Flames are going through some. They're not hot. They're not being Flames right now. The Flames have been put out in Calgary, and Noah Hannafin has paused contract talks. We're only just under 10 games in. Calgary, buckle up. And you know what's scary the most? That team should have better expectations. Should be doing better. And that team was built by Brad Treliving, current GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Same situation? No. Is it different? Yes. Should he be criticized for it? Nah, I guess not. It's not fair. But that is a team he built. And they should be doing better. On paper, I think they are better, truly. I think they're a wild card team. I think they have a chance to be a playoff team and not really win a cup, maybe not even get out of the first round, but definitely not be the way that they're playing. It all started with the lack of goaltending that hasn't been doing well. The Oilers are having the same issue. But there's a lot of problem there in Calgary. And if I'm a Calgary player right now, I wouldn't want to resign there either. If I'm Conroy, I'm looking to. You got some good prospects coming in, Celebrini. You got some good players coming up. Heck, you got a Ginla's son that coming up in the draft. You got to know Calgary is going to be looking at that. But even the year after that, you got Michael Misa. That guy is going to be a franchise player. If I'm Calgary, it's time to rebuild. set it all down. You might have to trade a newly acquired Huberdeau. It might be hard to trade both him and Uyghur, especially the contracts given, but you can see what you can arrange out of that. Maybe you keep them then and have them around for the rebuild. But trades need to happen, and you got some tough contracts to move, and that goes from Kadri, Huberdeau, and Uyghur. But you got assets you can move on expiring deals. You can do some retention of salary, bring it down, do it early, get the pain over with in the next couple of years, do some good drafting, really invest in your scouts, and move forward. This has been David McKeag's first segment of the Game Sports Podcast, if you will. As I say my name in a plural type of realm. But again, this has been the first segment of the Game Sports Podcast where I've been bringing you everything hockey. And I am overtime. I said it'd be 12 minutes. It's 20. And we got about another 20, 25 minutes of In the Pocket. So it looks like we are going to hit the same length as we usually do here on the Game Sports Podcast, but it's all content that we hope that you enjoy. As I mentioned, it is commercial free. We are going to take a quick break. When we come back, we are going to have In the Pocket here on the Game Sports Podcast. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back to the Game Sports Podcast. There's host David McKeag Jr. continuing to join you here on this edition of the Game Sports Podcast. We are in the second segment of this electrifying episode, as always. And this is the drum roll insert, not inserting actual sound, In the Pocket segment. For 7 years, In the Pocket has been throwing Hail Marys to you, giving your ears gifts of pure content beauty for the past 7 years, from a phone at Sports Center to now with headsets in our ears and Hykel's amazing background. If you're on video, pure fantastic background. That's not even a joke. That's 100% accurate. Now, the In the Pocket segment, the portion of this episode, is sponsored by Sports Center Bar and Grill, Sault Ste. Ontario's best sports bar, best wings. They also had the Game Sports Podcast Pizza. At the time, it was called the Game Sports Show when we were recording there live. Fun fact. Now, obviously, COVID changed a lot of things up, as well as our picture no longer up at the bar, but they are still a proud partner of the Game Sports Podcast and, of course, been around for the entire 7 years, one of the original sponsors of the game. That's amazing. And we continue to be powered by 91N. And again, special shout out to Flawless Roofing, Sure Seal Incorporated, the full sponsor of the game. EJ Russell, Justin Hykel are joining yours truly for the second segment. I'm going to go first to EJ Russell over in the United States of America. The one only, EJ Russell. EJ, my friend, how's it going?
Yo, what's going on? Happy to be here. Sorry I couldn't make it last week. With the new gig, when people are buying cars, that means I don't typically leave work. So had a good month last month, just ended up yesterday, took the day off today. The missus and I went and looked at a house.
Oh!
Not a good one. I don't think we like this one, though.
Oh,
but that's all right.
You got to know when you walk in.
I think she did. No, but happy to be here with you boys, as always.
Now, EJ, I don't know if you want to, no free ads, but I did want you to say, if someone's looking for a car, can they find you? What can they do? Can they find you online and maybe ask you online? Give yourself
you can always hit me up on Facebook. Just search my name, EJ Russell. Nothing to hide here. I am who I am. But salesperson over at Riverside Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Escanaba. So if you need a car, I got a guy for that. And I'll tell you what, we'll make it a pretty easy experience for you. Car buying sucks. I try to make it easy for you.
Love that. And he doesn't pester you. He won't pester you. Okay? He'll get you what you want, EJ Russell. And he might even talk about the Game Sports Podcast.
It has definitely been plugged at the dealership several times. As soon as I say that I'm on a podcast, people are like, which one? I'm like, well, you can find us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, blah, 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 blah.
Insert promo that I don't need to do now. Love it. Justin Hykel.
This is why you need to send me my championship belt so I can set it on my desk.
Yeah, you deserve it. You won't have it after this year, though. That's fine. Justin Hykel, my friend, another week, another In the Pocket, another Hail Mary, another slant, X5, 85 slant. I don't know. I'm not a football. I didn't play football in high school. How you doing, my friend?
Spider 3Y banana.
You're good?
Good to be back. Good to be here again. Another Colts loss, but I'm still smiling.
Painful heart.
2 in a row, by the way. 2 in a row. 2 in a row.
Injuries don't help. Injuries do not help.
Well, I don't.
But it could be worse. It could be worse.
Yeah, I'm not a Minnesota fan, although the Josh Dobbs trade's pretty nice.
That was okay. Now, I was going to pick up Josh Dobbs this week because both my one quarterback is named Deshaun Watson, who I don't know if he's ever healthy or not. The other one is Jared Goff, who's decided to take a bye this week. So I had to pick up someone. I went I was really hovering over Dobbs, but it was on when he was on Arizona when I was picking it. So I was kind of like, right? Now I picked up Young, the Panthers.
Dude, I'll tell you what, if you're looking for a flyer on fantasy football, I scooped him up. Take a gamble on Will Levis. The guy threw 4 touchdowns in his first game as a professional quarterback.
You know why I didn't pick him?
There's some other
the fucking Steelers.
There's some other dick in Dave's league who took Will Levis. That was might not have been me.
Yeah, that guy. That guy.
Like the second quarter in the game on Sunday, I was scrolling through the free agents, like ad. Thank you.
Find this guy. Now, if you're wondering what Justin's talking about, we're talking about fantasy football. If you do fantasy football, gamble and have fun responsibly, but you may not be as good as me. And I can only say that probably for a little bit of time because I am first in my league right now. Number 1, 6-2 record, and I never would have thought.
Everyone's going to get injured next week now that he said that on the air.
Yeah. I just lost. I'm playing Dane Hancho this week. Everyone knows the game, knows who Dane is. His name is 28-3. I love that as his name. If you know, you know what that means. But he has a lot of players on a bye this week. I only have 1. So might be my week to go 7-2. Sorry, Daner. But we'll talk real football here. EJ, at the end, I'm going to give you the 2-minute warning to be about college football. So anybody ask me about college football, I do get asked that at times if we're going to cover it. Look, I'm not your dude for that. I'm not going to lie to you. Your guy, or the 2 guys on this mic right here with me, EJ for sure, Tyler as well when he comes. That's not me. I know football. My passion's the NFL. I know where I stand. I can quarterback, but I'm not going to catch the plays, if you will, for that. So I'm going to let EJ take that at the end. I will give a shout out to St. Mary's football. Why? Well, very strange. For a number of years, I've been saying on this podcast, Core Colts football, Core Colts football, Core Colts football in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, winning championship after championship. But now St. Mary's has come out on top this year. So congratulations to St. Mary's College on winning football. That is they take down a juggernaut. They take the throne, and congratulations to them. So I want to make sure I give them a shout out because they do have a lot of listeners. Vancouver, they got a group there that actually do like the Game Sports podcast and compliment us. So I'll make sure I give them the love. But
don't forget the Cora Juniors too. Hey, they won.
Oh, yeah, can't forget that. Oh, thank you, Justin. The Core Juniors, though, did win. So there is going to be a thing that I say again this year. The Core Colts won football, but it was for junior this year, not for senior. But quite a run they did have the Core program with senior football. But nonetheless, Justin Hykel, EJ Russell, we got National Football League to talk about. Let's do it. Let's kick it off with that. Even though we have kicked off technically, we're just getting into the first down, getting into our plays. Let's talk about the previous week. What had you going? What doesn't have you going? I know I actually want to start with, I still count this as last week. I know we're this week, but the week hasn't started yet until tomorrow. The Oakland Raiders decide to open their door today and just say, nope, I'm going to fire everybody. Everyone's gone. Fired. You're definitely fired. If you ever seen Mr. Deeds at the end when he was firing everybody, that was that guy today firing everybody outside of Oakland. And there's now going to be a little changeover. Obviously, Garoppolo is sitting on the bench. I believe the young guy is going. Listen, a lot of changeover in Oakland. Hike, what's your thoughts on Oakland being a clean house destination now?
I'm going to be the jerk and say it, but it's Vegas. It's the Vegas Raiders.
Oh, I said Oakland. My goodness. See, Correct me.
That's because it feels like the kind of douchebaggery that only occurs in Oakland.
You know, good.
You're not wrong. That's
and definitely always be that guy to me, and I'm not editing that out. I usually edit out my mistakes at times. I'm not doing that this show.
It's all right. I've been saying the San Diego Chargers for forever. I'll say it forever. San Diego.
Let me rephrase. The Las Vegas Raiders clean house. That actually goes good with Vegas. It sounds better than Oakland, to be honest.
No, but honestly, just like it was kind of it's overdue already, and that's weird to say going into the first week of November in a season. But the Raiders weren't going anywhere; they weren't doing anything. You got a couple guys that are like Josh Jacobs, you signed at the beginning of the year. Can't really do anything. He's not the entire offense. Devontae Adams can't throw the ball to himself. I mean, Garoppolo's looked brutal this year, and I mean there was, at least in my head, a thought process there that Garoppolo coming from the New England tree, McDaniels coming from the New England tree, maybe that would match up and work. But it obviously has not. It's been the exact opposite. I mean, like, you got some good players on that team. I mean, like Max Crosby on the defensive side. You've got, like I said, Jacobs and Adams, but Adams probably doesn't want to be there much longer. He got brought in planning on playing with Derek Carr, who got kicked out the door 12 weeks later. Didn't even, last the whole season before he got bounced. And why would Adams want to be there? It doesn't look like nothing. He doesn't want to be part of a rebuild. And I mean, we went through the trade deadline yesterday, so I mean, any chance of movement this season is gone. I mean, as a Raiders fan, it's kind of a bummer looking at the rest of the season.
See, you know what I find really different, EJ? Oakland. Here we go again. Las Vegas. Let me get that drilled in my mind. Las Vegas. Hearing still too much baseball going through my mind, and I'm hearing a lot about the Athletics. But anyways, for Las Vegas, if you compare other leagues, a lot of people may think, EJ, and football is different, right? Drafting's different. Every league is different in terms of drafting. In football, I remember when the Pittsburgh Steelers traded Antonio Brown, they got nothing for him. It was a third-round pick, if I remember correctly. And Antonio Brown was still a very good receiver. He went south after that, of course, until winning Super Bowl. But even then, still not the same player he was. But the asset management portion, as a sports fan, I'm a big believer in asset management. And what I mean by that is, if you're going to have a team that is not going to be successful for the remainder of the year and you're looking at a new outlook for the team and you got to look over for a change, I feel like you can make a quicker change in football than most of other sports. I know maybe Browns fans won't agree with that because of the quarterbacks they went through for a number of years. But I feel like they made a mistake not trading Devontae Adams. I think they did a good thing with the relieving of a lot of individuals on their staff. But I think not moving Devontae Adams and moving some key pieces that are more quote-unquote in prime or veteran pieces was kind of a mistake to get some more draft picks to accumulate for the draft this year.
I don't know if I would have even put McDaniels back in the driver's seat to be in that position. I mean, he failed miserably when he was at the helm for Denver as well. Maybe it has something to do about going and playing out in the AFC West. Maybe it has something to do with just not being competent enough on both sides of the football. We know he's great offensively, but I don't know that moving any of these pieces were necessary. The biggest thing, and we said it right away, and Hykel mentioned it, Devontae Adams went there to play with David Carr, right?
With Derek Carr.
Derek Carr, sorry, not David Carr.
Hey, I'm right here, David.
But here's the thing. It was the Fresno State connection that was the most important part there. And when they shipped him away, you really derailed the whole aura of what was supposed to be the 1-2 punch of your offense. Josh Jacobs, who has not run since he's changed his number nearly as well as he has in the past. I think he's more concerned about his jersey number than he is about carrying the football right now. It's just everything that the Raiders are about right now seems to be everything except for football, outside of Max Crosby, who just made $1 million donation to Eastern Michigan University, and they are now going to be naming the stadium after him. So congratulations to him as well, Michigan native, for those listening in the United States of America. I just don't like what the Raiders are doing. I smell a dumpster fire, and I think Las Vegas is used to dumpster fires and tragedies, and so and I'm not saying that to try to be dark or anything like that, and I'm not poking fun of the serious, human rights things that have happened out there, or things that have happened to people. I don't know if human rights is the right words I'm using, but it's a dumpster fire in Vegas, and it smells like cheap liquor and booze.
I don't want to be the one to mention it first, but I'm going to be the one to mention it first. Then this is like twice in 2 weeks. But the Raiders are kind of going to fall, I think, potentially going to fall into that same hole. They're in a location where you can sell tickets no matter what. Yeah. So what does it matter if you win?
Place to be a player, though, too. A lot of distractions.
I guess I could say it without even referencing the Toronto Maple Leafs, but I didn't, and that's where it is. But
the first hockey reference. What a chode.
The team makes money no matter what. You'll sell jerseys no matter what. So if you got new names to put on the jerseys every year, you're just going to sell more jerseys. I mean,
that doesn't necessarily work. As a Browns fan, trust me, you usually didn't buy a jersey because you never knew which one you were going to keep.
Yeah, that's so much money in that team, right? Like, look at the stadium; it's gorgeous. It's the Death Star. It literally looks like the Death Star. Speaking of Hykel's background relevance, right now, if you know, you know. Just look above Hykel's head if you're on the video. But that aside, you have an organization with the Raiders. I should really just say Raiders instead of going Las Vegas because I really feel like I might slip again. So I'll stick with the Raiders. It's an organization that expected to win. They had all this excitement coming. Look what's around them right now, right? You have there is a team that's recently won in that city. They might get it seems like they're going to get
teams. Excuse me, Dave. Teams haven't the WNBA Aces won a championship as well out there?
Oh, teams up, plural. Thank you, EJ. And they're pretty much. It seems like they're going to get the Athletics from the Major League Baseball side, and they're going to have the Las Vegas A's, which I think is so hot. That's such a good name. They keep the same logo. I'm all for that in Vegas, but. They want to win. They thought they had a team that could make some noise, and it's not happening. You bring in Devontae, you got Jacobs, you got a piece, you got a nucleus of players that can do it, and they're not doing it. That simple as that. And if you don't succeed in that high of a caliber of a profession, you're gonna be fucking fired. There's my first swear of the night. You're gonna be terminated. You're gonna be out the door. And they're going to bring in somebody to try to bring in who's going to bring you success. I don't know who that person is. I'm sure there are coaches I'm not thinking of, but they are going to do something where they're, I think, going to focus on the scouting side. But I feel like they've had a missed opportunity to really try to bring in some draft picks for this year and do a kind of a quick reset. But maybe in the offseason they go after a bigger name quarterback. They kind of bring in some pieces by spending money because that's what Vegas still has left to do. EJ, I'll get you. Is there anything you want to bring up in terms of a point for this past week before we get into this week's pick'em? And then actually, Hike, I got to give you the floor before as well. But EJ, I'll go to you first.
I got nothing. Actually, if you guys want to know what I got going on, I got some commissioner issues over here. I just vetoed an absolutely absurd trade, and the boys are hot.
Oh, I actually forgot, Hike, to bring up a fun fact that was a hockey reference in the first segment about how Austin Matthews signed with Prime with Logan Paul and KSI energy drink. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not a big fan of that Prime drink. I'm going to flat out tell you. But we'll save that for
we're probably going to disagree there then. I'm big on the hydration blend they got going on. That Ice Pop one is probably the best hydration beverage on the market.
It's delicious. We'll table that for Monday's edition that we actually plan to have. But Hike, anything for you that you'd like to bring up in this kind of round table segment before we get into the next to the pickup?
I mean, the Giants-Jets game was kind of a shit show. Like that we joke about like teams with losing records trying to like see which team could lose the game, but legitimately that game, like aside from the very end where the Jets were like, oh, fuck, we could kick and like take this to overtime. Like the Giants, I don't even know what the fuck the guy's name was. Danny DeVito at quarterback, intermittently there, had the trash man rolling around. That's a bad, like in a prime marquee like New York playing New York in MetLife Stadium, and you get two dogs trying to fuck a football. That's what you end up with. Like, come on!
Such garbage. That game was fucking garbage, man. I've never seen such garbage. Like there were negative passing yards at one point in that game.
Like the Titans game was a riot to watch because for the first little bit they're rolling through Malik Willis, Will Levis, throwing different packages out there, like shit you didn't think the Tennessee Titans even had in their playbook, just to figure out, okay, how this is going to work. And then Levis came out and dropped three or four.
DeAndre Hopkins loved him. 4. Was it 4?
Yeah,
He dropped 4.
So I don't know. I'm going to start putting mayonnaise in my coffee and see if maybe that I can start playing like Will Levis. But honestly, aside from that, there wasn't for having no bye weeks last week. It was a fairly tame week.
You saw him in the pocket, pun intended, placement intended, in the pocket throwing that football. I feel like there's one point where he doesn't even know where he was throwing the football. I don't know if I want to call it beginner's luck yet. Look, he plays the Steelers this week, so it's a game that I get to actually watch him in, and he's going against a defense that is is very good. The reason why the Steelers are above 500 is because of that defense. It's not because of their offense.
I was going to say it's probably because Matt Canada. I heard Steelers fans really like him, and they'd like to have him have a contract extension.
They would love him to remain there. The poll is at a high 99% rate on the opposite side. The guy is gonna but you know what? Tomlin runs the ship. Okay, people got to remember that in Pittsburgh. Tomlin runs the ship. If Tomlin wants somebody there, he'll be there. Heck, if he wants us to broadcast for them, I guarantee we'd have a call tomorrow. We'd be broadcasting for the Steelers. Tomlin is that team, and the defense is that team. The only reason why they have above 500 records because of Watt, because of Herbig, and because of Highsmith. That is it. But we're not talking about that yet. The point is, we're going to see what Willy-nilly Levis, sure, that's a new one, Levi's jeans, Levis is really made of. Hike, and I mean made of by his second and third week of playing. I'll see what happens, because 1 week could dictate. Hike, I want you to get into the pick'em this week, and we got some games to pick, and I'm going to let EJ pick first.
Well, let's go to the standings here. I'm still a little bit shocked at the Will Levi's comment. That's that one's probably never. That's in my brain forever.
I mean, in my Amazon card, I got a pair of Levi 502s.
Are they the Will Levi's?
Hold on, no, I'm gonna get the color. It's Will. The color is Will Khaki. Levi's.
Honestly, I'm on fire this week. I'm on fire. There's the Raiders. I'm saying names. It's great. Whoever's getting this shit right now is loving what's going on.
That's a good one. This is a good quality episode this week. So into our pick'em standings here, we got a bit of a change in the lead. So Steelers Nation has moved up to first with 78 points.
3 weeks. 3 weeks.
Dave and EJ tied last week, both getting 9 correct. EJ in second. My chub is Miles Long at 77 points. And I'm still holding it down in third, 75 points, but I won the week last week.
What a sweet name, Hike's Picks.
Yeah, Hike's Picks. Best picks.
Mine sucks. Hike, I still can't change the name. I tried on my phone. I can't. So we'll have to discuss that offline.
That's like what you've always put for it, though.
No, I put something else last year. Did I not? Or did I always have
I think it was Steelers Nation.
Yeah, I thought that's what it was.
Then we got to change that nonsense to like Will Levi's. Hykel or EJ, you go first with your picks this week.
All right. Well, Dave's going to like this first one. I got the Steelers beating the Fighting Levi's in the first game. Third tomorrow. I got the Miami Dolphins taking down the Kansas City Chiefs on the road in the Germany game. That game takes place in Germany at 9:30 in the morning.
Is Taylor Swift going?
Probably. I think she's got an international tour planned. So I sure, we'll go with that. Hey, Kelsey doesn't play as well when she's not there. It's a big football news. Okay, let's move beyond that. I got the Vikings losing to the Falcons at home. Browns top the Cardinals at home. I think if weather plays any bit of a factor in that game, definitely favors Cleveland. I got the Rams over the Packers, Commanders over the Patriots. I got the Saints beating the Bears, Ravens over the Seahawks, Buccaneers take down the Houston Texans. I do have the Heikel's Colts beating the Panthers, Raiders over the Giants, Cowboys I have beating the Eagles on the road. I think the Dallas shows us a little bit about themselves in that defense and what they got left in the tank this year. I got Cincinnati taking down the Bills strictly because they're at home. Otherwise, I mean, I still almost took Buffalo in that game, but I'll take Cincinnati over the Bills. Chargers over the Jets. Chargers Jets score, I got 20-13 Chargers. Bills Bengals, I got 21-27 Bengals. I think most points this week is going to be the Miami Dolphins. I think that's going to be a high-scoring game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Least amount of point this week, I think, is the Arizona Cardinals. Browns are one of the best defenses in the NFL.
Damn. Well, as the luxury of being in first, I'm going to pass. I'm going to make sure I go last. Hyke. You're next.
He's just copying our.
Better not be changing your picks, Dave. I never did.
They're in. I picked them on Tuesday.
All right. So for the Thursday nighter, I'm taking the aforementioned Fighting Levi's over the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's my new name.
A couple mayonnaise touchdowns tomorrow night. Dolphins.
Dave, right now you sound like Jerry the King Lawler trying to call Royal Rumble. Every time you hear a new team name, Fighting Levi's, that's my new name. Like Jerry Lawler, the new guy. That's my pick. Rey Mysterio's my pick. Can't change your team name every week, Dave. That's my pick. The Fighting Levi's, they're my name now.
No, I've been a Val Venus fan forever. No one was a Val Venus fan.
That's funny story. Funny story.
Ladies.
I possess somewhere in my parents' house a Val Venus autograph on the inside cover of like a Hardy Boys book, like the Nancy Drew for dudes, the Hardy Boys. It was just what I had. We were in an Orlando airport going to somewhere in Florida, and my dad recognized him because we all watched it. And we were all too scared to say something. He goes, "Excuse me, sir, are you Val Venus with the big penis?" Said it right out loud just to embarrass us. And so then, my dad got his autograph on the inside of my book cover.
I fucking love that.
That's
I wish you would have said you had on a towel. I wish you would have said you had an autograph on the inside of a towel.
Oh, I do think he was wearing sweatpants, though.
Big gray joggers going through the airport.
Pretty much, yeah. They were gray.
Love that.
All right. Well, that's
back to your pick.
Back into your
Fighting Levi's.
Yeah. Dolphins over the Chiefs. I'm taking the Vikings.
It's off the rails today, boys.
Yeah, it's a run. Cleveland over Arizona. Rams over the Packers. The Washington Football Club over the Patriots. Saints over Chicago. Baltimore over Seattle. Tampa over Houston. Colts over Carolina. Giants over Vegas in a game that might have a total score of 20 points. Philadelphia over Dallas. Cincinnati over Buffalo. Chargers over the Jets. Scores I got: the Chargers 36, Jets 24. I'm hoping it's entertaining to watch. That's really all I'm hoping for. And then the Bills, I got 31, Cincinnati 44. Most points this week, Cincinnati. Fewest points this week, Carolina.
Oh, don't tell me Carolina's least points. It means my fantasy football is going to be garbage this week. I got to stay.
Have you watched them try to play?
Yeah, I have.
They took the same offense that didn't work in Indianapolis with Matt Ryan and gave it to a college kid and said, "Good luck."
I should have went after Josh Dobbs. Nonetheless, my picks this week, I was actually almost going to pick the Titans and the Levi's this week, but I said, you know what? Fuck up. Hayward's back with the Steelers. I'm picking the Steelers this week in Thursday Night Football. Pickett needs to have one good game this year. The offense needs to come out once. Maybe this is the game. The Chiefs over the Dolphins, Falcons over the Vikings, Browns over the Cardinals, Rams over the Packers, the Washington Commanders over the Patriots, Saints over the Bears, Ravens over the Seahawks, Bucks over the Texans, Panthers over the Colts. Because of fantasy football, mostly made my decision there. Yikes, I definitely might lose that. Raiders over the Giants in a game that might, like Hykel said, score 20 points. Eagles over the Cowboys. Bills over the Bengals. Chargers over the Jets. 28-17, Chargers over the Jets. 34-28, Bills over the Bengals. Most points this week, New Orleans. Least points, the Bears. Those are the pick'em this week. From your first place, second, and third place in a 3-player league. Pick'em League. We have fun. If you want to join us, comment below, reach out to us below, and think you can beat us. Look, our success rate is very good. Like, I can sit here all day and debate about who's the better picker for football, okay? But it is EJ because he's won back-to-back years. So I can't debate that. But besides that, to have a success rate of 64% for yours truly, 63 for EJ, 61
That's embarrassing for me.
That is a good number still.
I'm usually closer to 70, Dave. Come on now.
I know, but that's a good number still. That is pretty good. You might win some money by listening to us or doing the opposite.
No, don't listen to me. The second you bet on any of my picks, they'll lose.
Don't listen? My goodness. Now, Hyke and I are going to take a little bit of a back seat to a degree. Hyke, not really. He's going to be kind of in the passenger seat a little bit with this, but it's going to be our 2-minute warning that we've introduced on this segment towards the end. We're going to work on the 2-minute end, but I think EJ is going to hit the 2 minutes today. He's going to be talking about college football for much to people's requests, and when he's done, we'll have our wrap up to this evening's edition. So EJ, take it away for 2-minute warning, talking NCAA, and Hyke. Be there at the ready if you are needed, because yours truly will not be ready.
Hey, everybody. When we're talking about college football, things just got exciting with the first edition of the College Football Playoff Rankings, which actually see the Ohio State University, and yes, I said that intentionally for a reason because of my bias, but the Ohio State University sits at the top of the rankings. Georgia falls in 2, Michigan 3, and Florida State 4. Rounding out on the outside, you see Washington, Oregon, Texas, Alabama, Oklahoma, Ole Miss to round out the top 10. Now, these college football rankings are somewhat subject to question here because in a league that just last year, in a collegiate football world, that saw 38 of the voters vote for Georgia to be the number 1 team in the country, 19 to vote for Michigan, and only 3 each to vote for Ohio State and Florida State, what is the committee seeing out of Ohio State that they feel that they should be placed in that number 1 spot? Is it the strength of schedule? Is it the competition that they played? Are they valuing that Notre Dame game maybe a little bit more than some of the other games that teams have played? Possibly. But I'll tell you this. Michigan certainly is a team that passes the eye test for me, and that is difficult for me to say. Fuck Michigan. They do pass the eye test for me, though. Okay, Georgia passes the eye test for me. I have questions about the Buckeyes every Saturday when I watch them. Air Force is undefeated, and I think they've won games in a more resounding fashion than Ohio State has, having to hang on to win games 24-14, 24-10 against teams that they should be blowing out of the water. Yes, Ohio State took care of Penn State. Yes, they took care of Notre Dame when there was a top 10 matchup. Yes, they've done those things. The SEC may be a little undervalued this year, but I think that Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State are really leading the way when it comes to top football teams in this country. The Big Ten looks like it's leading the way, and they're beating each other up on their road to the final the last Saturday in November, which sees the game, the Ohio State University taking on the University of Michigan. It is going to be a huge battle and one that's going to play out here in the end.
2-minute warning from EJ Russell. Just coming in a little shy of the 2 minutes, and that is perfect. So I will make up that time because yours truly can certainly do that. This has been the Game Sports Podcast. This has been football. Let me give you a hot take this week. Buy Levi's, and you can buy them from Amazon. That's my final recap on 2-minute warning.
Now.
Yikes.
Yeah, it's like a...
No, is that a no for you, Hyke? No Levi's
from
Amazon? That's an ick. Oh,
I can't
see
it.
that.
Come on, focus in.
It's not.
Not gonna.
No,
the video can't
wait for it. There they are. There they are. There's the Levi's.
The Levi's, man, 402s, buddy.
502 babies.
502. Love it. I can't read or talk today.
That made for a great piece of radio.
That's great. That did. Little video showing, but that's why you got to veer over to YouTube to watch the video so you can see our reactions about Levi pants. I actually own a couple of those pants. Now,
it's literally the only pair of pants I own. I kid you not.
We've probably talked an equal amount about Levi's and football in this entire segment tonight.
We didn't talk about Taylor Swift.
Dude, the guy threw 4 touchdowns. He deserves to talk about the brand of jeans he invented. Okay, the guy also put DeAndre Hopkins on the map this year, which made my football fantasy absolutely kick ass this week on a week that had no business winning. Love it. Dave for president.
Oh, that the 49ers play in Levis Stadium?
Actually, yeah, they do.
It's crazy that he has the naming rights to a stadium and just started his first game.
And
what a guy. Look out, Brock Purdy.
Oh, my God. The guy needs to come on this pod very fast. I'm
dying inside.
I love it. The Game Sports Podcast. Hyke, thank you very much. We'll plan to have you on Monday next week because we're going to have a little bit of a debate about Prime Energy Drink, I think. Might have to come out on there, but nonetheless, thank you for coming on.
I'll do a taste test. I'll go to the store. Don't make me.
Oh, I'll buy it for you, and then I'll throw it out after. Halfway.
I saw a pink one when I was at Circle K the other day. I didn't buy that one, though. I bought the Moonberry or something. Moonberries apparently just taste like...
Just throw it away. The Paul brothers are from Cleveland, and even I don't drink that shit.
They are from Cleveland. That's a fun fact. EJ Russell, my friend, my friend who's been around the Game Sports Podcast for a number of years, for a story that is worth hearing, to hear why he's gone on. We're not going to get into it now. You'll have to listen to the tribute show to our late friend Scott Nason, or to any show. We've talked about actually a lot on a lot of shows how you got on here. But nonetheless, it's a story to be told. But ever since that's been one of the best times for this show to have you included in our family. So happy for you to come on by for another edition of In the Pocket.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Now, the Game Sports Podcast is powered by 91N, 91 Network. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on the Game Sports Podcast. Anything you hear, audio, Spotify, Apple, make sure you hit like, follow, and subscribe on all those platforms. Flawless Roofing Insurance Incorporated, main sponsor of the Game Sports Podcast. 30 years in the biz, protect your investment. Start from the top. The In the Pocket segment was brought to you by, however, Sports Center Bar and Grill, Sault Ste. Ontario's best sports bar. 6 years in a row. Plus, listen, this place is rocking. I had pizza and wings in there from the other night, and it hit the spot. I want more because that's how good it is. It's addicting. No, I'm just kidding. No, I can't legally say that. It's addicting. Jokes aside, Sports Center Bar and Grill, Sault Ste. Ontario's best sports bar. Fantastic. And thank you to Sports Center for being a part of the game's family for over 7 years now with involvement on In the Pocket. We'll be back here on Monday. And for those waiting for the James Cebulski special edition upload, that will be coming. Just keep an eye on those uploads. It'll be great. But we'll be back on Monday for more the game content. And, of course, our In the Pocket segment will be back on the Wednesday edition next week. Let me remind you, keep your stick on the ice, swing your bats, catch your touchdowns, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.